John, the ONS has new figures up to the 15th of May.
That's right, yeah. And as you've been saying, the key number everyone's talking about today is that we've gone above 40,000 COVID deaths, so deaths with COVID-19 mentioned on the death certificate. And I think, we can dwell on the individual numbers, but what's just becoming increasingly clear with every week that this data comes out is that the UK is highly likely now to end up as one of, if not the very worst affected countries, not just in Europe, but worldwide in terms of deaths from COVID-19. So, yeah, each week is really just underlining that rather than changing the picture.
And there was a chart I saw this morning as well about deaths per million. Why is that a significant measurement? Deaths per million.
This is a tough one. So I think the best way to think about this is that we should look at multiple different measurements to get an idea of how different countries compare. Now, the difficulty is that every time you change the measure from, say, total number of deaths to deaths per million, it changes the top line. So the UK is second only to the US at the moment in terms of numbers of reported COVID deaths. And, of course, the US is a much, much larger, much more populous country. And so if one does adjust the population, then the UK goes above the US. And that's true also for the excess death numbers that we're using at the FT. But I'd just say the sort of health warning on that is that different numbers are all legitimate. And there's an argument that I myself have made in the past that because of the way this virus spreads, it spreads from person to person. It doesn't necessarily follow that a larger country would have more deaths. So by all means, I think people should bring the per capita numbers into the conversation here, but I just think there's a danger because we're all aware of how highly politicized this debate has become. There's a danger that people will just pick whichever number makes the point they want to make. So I would just say whatever stat someone is using, it's undeniable that the UK is at the top of a table that no one wants to be top of, in the top 1, 2 or 3, and whether you use population adjusted numbers or not it's up to the individual really, but I think it's worth taking account of all of these different measures when we discuss them.
But that plain fact withstands the scrutiny of using any number of measures, and it isn't just a one measure that makes it look a particular way, is what you seem to be saying.
Yeah, the question becomes, is the UK the worst, the second worst, the third worst? But the UK is definitely up there. One measure that we're using is, as I said, this idea of excess deaths, so the number of people who died in the last few weeks relative to the average for the same period in previous years. And that similarly shows the UK second only to the US. By that measure, the UK is now on around 60,000 more deaths than normal. So that's about 50% higher than the number from the ONS. And that, again, is second only to the US. And, again, if you adjust for population, it goes top. So there's certainly no question that the UK is one of the worst affected countries in, like I say, not just in Europe, but in the world. And it's just, whichever flavour of metric someone uses, it will determine whether the UK is first, second or third, that kind of thing. But there's no question that this country is going to end up looking like one of the most badly affected countries.